Tevez sta solo, Tevez all'interno dell'area, li fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Good morning, Juventini. Welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, where of course it is all Juve all the time. That's right. Like the video and subscribe. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate to do that, because by subscribing, you automatically enter yourselves in the race to try and win that away Vlahovic kit we are going to give away in 2 weeks' time. Okay. And we were pushing for 2K. We're almost at 1900. We can get there. Let's go. And good morning to all the usual suspects. I got Omer with me. I got Anthony with me. And look at this. Bob, I can't remember. We were talking about this yesterday. I can't remember coming into a show, looking at the live chat and not seeing this guy first up before we even start. So good morning, Bob. Thank you as always for the continued support. And thank you to everybody else. Sal in there right off the gate. Good morning, everybody. Keen from the top rope. Yeah, out of seemingly nowhere with that one. So it was great. CJ's in here this morning. Bikram G. Keen, the man. Let's go. Let's get into
the
this
man.
one. So Juventus, of course, getting the job done in a greasy 2-1 victory, almost like somebody called it.
Yes. Oh my God, here we go. It's gonna be a long day.
Okay, no, but in all honesty, it was pretty wild. Awesome. I mean, I was way off on the possession. I'll tell you that much. Way off on possession. But the gaffer had 10 total attempts, 4 on target. It was 10 and 5.
Are we going through the whole list?
You got 1-1 halftime score, Dybala as a goal scorer, and then I had a 2-1 Grease Fest. Hey, just saying, today I'm getting a lottery ticket because that doesn't happen. I am wrong 99% of the time. So
good call.
It's good omen here. Good omen. Quick reminder, everybody checking this out on audio outlets, get over to YouTube. Again, we mentioned the giveaway for the kit and plus all the extra content, keeping you up to date with the news and whatnot. So get over there, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into what was Juventus and Sassuolo. We talked a lot about the lineup just because of the massive injuries and everything like that. And honestly, there was not a whole lot you could really change if you wanted to, you know. And we're talking about the importance of the game. We were talking about how we thought individually we would feel knowing that the results went in our favor the match day ahead of it. So we were like, you know,
it's normally a nightmare.
Yeah, he's going to plug in his guys that he has faith in, and he's just going to try to avoid dropping points, basically. Just avoid a loss, if anything. But, yeah, we kind of all expected that. And let's get to the highlights, because, I mean, the lineup, there's not really a whole bunch that could have really changed. You could have argued maybe getting Sandro out of there and whatnot, but these are really minor changes. The whole structure of everything would have remained as is. So let's get into the highlights. Kick it off, and you get a very, very dangerous attempt from our target, Raspadori, coming from that side. Just shaves that one wide. You've got another 4-stop. This was off a brutal Paulo Dybala giveaway, and Berardi came back, had a good hit. Tech all over. Tech tested early on and answered the call very, very well. Here you have Scamacchia, who was in a great spot, and Tech parries that one away too after he hammers it. And then
hang on a sec. That last one was point blank range, and he was smashed that ball.
I mean, yeah, this was
a huge save.
And now we get to a very well-worked goal. You see Lopez here. He's looking, and Raspadori just almost in full anticipation. You know, he hits his target man there, and Raspadori just peels off of it and hammers this thing short side with a little bit of a dip. That one's after all those other saves, but it's always tough when you're in tight like that. But short side, that's a tough one.
By the time he reacted, the ball was that close with that much power behind it. By the time he reacted with his right arm, the ball was already past him. Can you go back one slide, please?
Too. When you watch it from the angle behind Szczesny, it's got that quick little hop up and dip.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It looks much easier than
It's
what is
not.
standing there. That thing was an absolute rocket.
Can you just go back one slide, please, real quick? This, sorry, one more to where they kind of set it up. This is where when I harp on, hey, we maybe lack consistency because we haven't had the same players. This is right off the training ground. This is 3 or 4 players that have played together all year.
Yeah.
Raspadori makes that run knowing that he's not getting that ball on that first pass.
Yeah.
This is just, repetition, playing with the same players. So this is why I always give Allegri a pass, because he doesn't have players that play consistent enough to do things like this.
And not only that, but his mark simply is in the same spot here as Raspadori peels in behind.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a communication breakdown right here.
Yeah.
Because his player's literally gone and nobody's with him. And, Bonucci's left with 2 options. Obviously,
guys,
he's going to try to go to Rasp, but he's got to he steps to the ball to where the ball's coming into the target. So it's a little bit difficult there. But yeah, nice goal. Nice goal from Sass, has to be said. Well worked and off the training ground, like you said. And there, there's a shot where it looks much, just
a bit of luck too, 1 centimeter to the right and it hits the post and goes wide or back into the area. It's a bit lucky, but a beautiful goal, beautiful setup.
Yeah.
And
well worked goal and deserved with the pressure that they put on at that with that onslaught.
Deserve.
Now, little situation up here involving Alvarito, and I'm going to say it right out of the gate here. I could have seen it go either way. It's in Italy. We are used to 9 times out of 10 that getting called.
100%.
In Champions League, though, you won't see that getting called very often, not nearly as often as in Italy. So I honestly was expecting it to potentially be called back or whatnot, and I was surprised that honestly he didn't get the call, especially like right next to the lines too. Like I thought it would be called. I must say that.
If
Your
you
guys'
look at
thoughts on that?
Real quick.
Sandro. Look what Sandro is.
Is that Sandro there?
Yeah.
Or is that Dybala? Oh, Sandro in the middle. Oh, I missed him there.
Yeah.
The referee was not a factor yesterday, which is how it should be. I didn't even notice him, which is how games should be and what City is actually missing. But that right there, that was 2 guys. Okay, Morata was behind him, but the defender's not innocent. He had his right arms locked around Morata's arm, so he's looking for contact to pull him down. So I think that's what they reviewed to say that's just 2 guys battling for a ball. Let them play.
Yeah, I actually
you can see it going both ways.
Switch the question, and if we were on the opposite end, I would have probably expected the call again because of how many times it gets called in Italy, but it would have been one of those ones where, again, it could go either way.
Either way.
Yeah,
Look,
it could go either way.
7 out of 10 refs would have called that a foul probably in Italy.
Yeah.
It can go either way, but it's not like he didn't have any options. There is this guy on the back here who could have passed it to, he could have kicked it out. They basically tussled each other. It wasn't like Morata pressured into the corner flag and he had no option, then fouled him.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The thing is, too, how Morata actually gets kind of around him and gets that ball and touches that ball in. At that point, that guy's kind of already losing it, and then he's already off balance, and that's kind of it. So, yeah. Anyways, works out for us. Pass inside to Zakaria into Dybala, and Dybala just hammers this thing. This thing. He's in a good spot too, 8 yards out from that angle, and he just drills this thing straight over Cozzili there. So there's the 1-1, and we go into half at 1-1. But again, a lot of what we expected. It's going to be a greasy one. You're going to expect Sassuolo to come at us, and I thought, in all fairness, it was not as bad as I thought and as people were making. To be honest, when you're looking at it, sure, it wasn't a showing we would have liked or whatnot, but given the circumstances, given what was going on, I thought we actually were okay. Your guys' thoughts on that first half?
This goal here broke Sassuolo. They were not the same team in the second half after this goal. You're going into halftime, you're up 1-0. You're all over your opponent. They smash something like this. We broke their hearts with this goal because Raspadori in the second half, invisible. Scamacca, invisible.
Yeah.
Berardi, was he even on the second half? Invisible. So once we had this, I knew this was steamrolling to a 1-1 draw in that second half.
Yeah. Omer.
Yeah. It's we've done it twice in the same game, and even once in the game before where we won it by the end of the second half, and now we scored in the first half and on the end of the second half. Sassuolo had a drop off. A lot of teams have a drop off towards the end of each half. So Dybala did what he had to do. I'm happy for the Zakaria assist. But like Ant said, that one pretty much broke Sassuolo. I always say their back line is not as flashy as their front line. And in the end, you kind of saw the tiredness and what it takes to win games at that stage of the season, and they just didn't have it. Their entire front line looked gassed, and we kept on running and rolling, even with all those injuries. So I'll give credit to the team. It wasn't an easy game to win, but they managed to pull it off, not in a beautiful way, but in an effective way. And you weren't bad. They weren't bad. They did create chances. Morata almost scored like a minute after with a header. You were fine.
And that's
right.
what I was speaking to. It wasn't bad in a sense that I thought we would be lacking much more in terms of how we could kind of sting Sassuolo. But other than, obvious execution errors in the final third, it didn't play out as bad as I'm sure many anticipated. So we'll get to the second half clips. There's not much more, and then we're going to get to all the goods. Everybody, reminder, like the video while you're here, and let's carry on here. This actually is right after that equalizer. Morata has a great header opportunity, just gets it wrong and slices that one wide. But again, Morata had multiple opportunities. He had some good ones. This was a crazy stop off another header from Morata on a corner. And man, big save there. Big save. Great shot.
Like that's just with his pinky finger. It was with with these two fingers he saved that ball.
And Bonucci missed it by an inch.
Yeah, Bonucci right here on the back post. I tried to get that slide too. He's literally like inches away from tapping that thing home as well. So, Juve did start to pull it together. This one from Morata on a spin. He's frozen. The keeper is frozen, and this thing just shaves the post there. I mean, Juve could have killed this one off. Like this could have been killed off.
Can we just pause on that point for a second? This is where Al, you've said to me many times, everybody has a right to their opinion, and we respect that here, and we just give our own opinions. This game, people wouldn't be talking about Allegri if Morata finishes his chances. This game should have been 6-2. Like, there was no discussion. There shouldn't have been any discussion. Juventus should have killed this game off way before we tied it.
Yeah, I mean, you have that's why I was saying it wasn't as ugly as I anticipated, and there were opportunities for us to put this away. Like Sassuolo had opportunities to bag a couple.
By the way,
this one was one of those games. I thought we would be definitely on the lower side in terms of chances gained. But if you look at this is why I always say stats only give you a little piece of the puzzle. And if you look statistically, a massive dominant in possession for Sassuolo, but watching the game, it didn't equalize in terms of dangerous opportunities, and it was pretty balanced on that front. Now,
Omer, that was a good point.
That was a very close one.
That last one might have been called offside.
Off foot, steps in from the right, and Szczesny's diving. But look at where this ball is already. If that thing goes in the corner, I don't think he's getting there. He's already late to that one. So that was a good opportunity from Sass. And then we get to this one. So long ball from Bonucci.
Which we did. We saw zero of those. Yes, we saw. Actually, this was the only one Bonucci played long. Probably
you got two guys battling for. Rabiot was one of them, and then they put it up to Keane. And Keane with I was very it's got to be said, I'm very shocked this defender backed off originally. and then Keane just felt it and took the step. Left foots this thing, and the keeper's going to want that one back, but I don't care. Let's take it 2-1. Let's go. Let's get out of there. Job done in a big, big game that we absolutely had to have the points, and I love it. Absolutely love it. So 2-1. My summary for this one is very, very brief and very, very simple. These are the matches, in my personal opinion, where I think Max and the players deserve the credit, no matter how ugly, because of how dire the circumstances are as far as a depleted roster. These are the games I expect that, and I'm okay with it, and I'm fine. My criticisms are all those matches where we had very, very close to our strongest lineup, and it doesn't look much better. That's where my criticisms are. But this one, this match, that is a feather in all their caps and a job well done, to be honest. And I loved it. That's my brief and quick summary. Let's get your guys, and let's start with Omer.
Yeah, it's one of those wins that annoys everyone around you in the table, which are the best ones and the most important ones. This sort of secured our spot in the top 4. I've said it yesterday. I would like nothing more than to jump above Napoli, but we'll get to that later. It was a game at the end of the season. This is how these games look like. It was very scattered. Everyone was scattered all around the pitch. Sort of a new formation. Every game is a new setup because of injuries, so there's not a lot you can do. And I tweeted yesterday that there's no one in this starting 11 that excites me, that I'm dying to see what he's going to do, because everyone are either old or leaving, and that says a lot. We're missing tons of important players that we're building on for the future. But I think Max managed this game well this time. Early substitutions, you saw that things didn't work out. He took out Rugani, he took out Dybala. No reports of an injury, although it looks like it when he came off. But it's a win that you take and run back to the bus and drive all the way to Turin and don't stay around and talk about it. And that's what we like at the end of the season. Let's go to Venezia, seal that one, and we're pretty much in the clear. So it's a very important win for our season.
Yeah. And
yeah, so this puts the magic number at what I calculated to be 5. So any points gained or points lost, that total 5 between us and Roma locks up top 4 spot. It's actually magic number was 6 with Fiorentina because they have a game in hand. So essentially a win and a loss between us and Roma, it's over. But I agree, we should be targeting top 3 now. We're only a point behind Napoli. The one interesting point I was trying to find the other day, Omer, you threw it out on the main account this morning. Juventus have gained 12 points this season from a losing position. That's 5 more
since 2022.
So that's just January. That's just this calendar year. That is unbelievable. Like that's 5 more points than any other team. So people talk about Allegri and let's just say this team when we're down, we can't come back. That just kills that myth off. Like it hasn't been pretty. I agree it hasn't been pretty, but it's been effective. Effective is the word that he's been this calendar year. And like you said, individually the ratings were terrible, but as a unit, both halves, I have not too many issues with the game yesterday.
That stat's kind of funny though. Like, are we playing from disadvantaged? Are we getting a lot of opportunities to play from disadvantaged?
It doesn't seem like it though, right? But yeah, I guess we have been.
So, I mean, because that's one thing to look at, and it's kind of the other side of the fence. But nonetheless, it's good that that is actually happening, and it's a good indicator because under Max, this is one of the things that even when we make comparisons to last season, we did feel like we could score goals kind of out of nowhere and at any moment. Obviously, Cristiano contributes to that, but you have a lethal goal scorer, but it did feel like we could score at any time. I think it's good to see this statistic because it kind of does pick that up and like, because this
games
season
aren't over.
I've said #don't ask how, because it really feels like that. We're seeing statistics all year long where we're like, really? Yeah, and this is another one of them. It's like, okay, but are we playing from disadvantaged positions a little too often in
Fair
matches
enough.
maybe we shouldn't have?
Look,
That's a different side of it and would take way more digging. And ultimately, I think we just need to, like, this one, let's take it, let's be happy. But I think that feeling of wanting more when your lineup isn't so depleted, I think is still fair. And as Ant
Yeah.
mentioned yesterday, let's wait, see the summer mercado through, and then let's get back to full strength and see what we can cook up with all these guys. But some of that mentality and fight was really on display yesterday. I'd say, like, that grinta was there for me. And that's kind of something that's been almost fading in and out, coming through waves for a few seasons now. Would you guys agree? And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And it's interesting, Max's words. We're definitely going to get into Max's words after this match. But one of them was that kind of fired everybody up was he said, I don't rate this season. Nobody should rate this season because I'm laying the groundwork and the foundation for the next. And it was very, very interesting. But when you think of it in terms of our biggest weakness throughout these other seasons, for me was definitely the mental aspect of it. And are we seeing kind of somewhat of a return to a strong mental team, or do you think it's still lacking? Like, what do you guys think in that? I wanted to start off with that in terms of the words
Omer?
he said post-match.
Yeah, but look, players addressed it early in the season, and they said, the veteran players, not the youngster, that when Cristiano was there, the mentality was non-existent because they felt like you felt. He can score a goal at any point and win you a game. And when he moved away, it was lost, and it took time to rebuild, and it's still in a rebuilding phase. It's not done yet. But we know we have the personalities. We know we have players who have done that before. And the interesting thing is, I haven't checked it yet. I will check it. That I don't think we had any games that we were in a disadvantage and we won in the first half of the season up until January. And after that, gaining 12 points out of a disadvantaged position, which also includes draws. Like we drew with Atalanta on the final minute of the game, which was also sort of important. Inter, what happened with Inter? We lost to Inter.
We had a late PK, I think. Didn't we get a late PK against them? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
We didn't win. I'd be lying if I said I felt confident yesterday that we are going to get the win. It didn't feel like we had total control of the game and we knew what we were doing. Some of those chances and moves at the back felt like a Hail Mary attempt just for everything to work out and finish as a draw, as Max addressed and said that he himself expected a draw, but we'll get to that. But there is a shift in mentality. I can see it. And even if we had all our guys available, it doesn't mean they'll have the chemistry together right away. These guys also need to play together, get to know each other. And Max didn't have a chance at any point of this season to have that for, a stretch of a month, maybe, to get the guys working together. So it's actually pretty amazing what he achieved. There's still some, stuff to say about him and about the way he went. But overall, if he finishes this season at third place, it's more than I expected when January came in.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting stuff from our live chat, which is always awesome. And we love it. So Bikram Jeet here. Too early to say if we are better mentally. We can only judge after next season. I think what we need to look at is this is a match, in my personal opinion, earlier on in the season, we don't turn into a victory. I honestly feel that way. And I think
we literally lost that game on the first round.
We literally did lose it in the first. And
that's right.
And this is what I'm saying. When you factor in a roster, the lineup that we thought was lacking in certain areas, they fought through that and they pushed through that. They pushed through a lack of creativity in the midfield. They pushed through just having not even Vlahovic up top, which they've been used to for a while now. Like they pushed through, they found a way to get the job done against a team that really peppered them for a while and put on an onslaught, and they pushed through and they got the result. They actually, if it weren't for execution, could have actually made this convincing in the other direction. And it wouldn't have taken that 2-1. We kind of went through that. So I don't think it's too early to judge. I think there is a bit of a shift there mentally. And I think some of the character guys that, weren't really in there, like Vlahovic a start, I think will help, especially if we maximize systems with him. Chiesa is our antagonist. We got to get him going. I know that, and I'm even guilty of thinking the same way. Max wasn't getting the most out of him earlier on in the season, but you can't deny the threat that guy poses. Okay. Quadrado's another guy that he throws in a lot of creativity, a lot of mixes. It's a matter of putting it all together. And this remains my biggest criticism of Max. And it was in my summary. When you have all your main guys, you have to get them into a strong unit. And a mesh adds in. What's the point of building mentality when so many players in the current squad are leaving? You have to build that foundation, and you have to lay the expectations for every player coming in the future. It's something I brought up when we signed Ronaldo, and certain little indications of us kind of somewhat losing that spine that we always had for years coming above. When you go back, and Ant can attest to this just like I can, the old days, Omer can, to his knowledge of Juve before. It didn't matter about the name on the kit. You came in and you fell in line, and there was a way of doing things, and there was a level of expectations and fight and determination that you had to bring to the table at the bare minimum. So this is very important regardless of who is in your squad. Do you guys agree?
I just want to say that back in the 80s, which was one of Juve's best periods ever, they didn't even have names on the back.
They had one. They only had one player back then. But so just getting to the Grinta part. First half of this season, we scored a boatload of goals in the first 20 minutes of a game. If you look at the stats between minute 1 and minute 20, we scored a lot of goals. So we were leading a lot of games, but we didn't win a lot of games in the first half of the season. The mentality thing you could see switch in November, December when we went on that long unbeaten run. And it really showed yesterday when Allegri, he said in his post-match presser, they were asking, why were you upset? Because he left with a minute left in the game. He went into the change room. He was all in a piss. He was upset because, one, because Vlahovic, he said he was too erratic. The young man needs to calm down. But also, we weren't maintaining possession and being calm, and it's all about mentality. And you're right, 100%. We lost this that's a great point. We lost this exact same game to Sassuolo when they scored in the 97th minute, whatever it was. So he's been. You can see that he's been preaching, mental fortitude, staying focused for all 90 plus minutes. And when we were fading there at the end of the game, we were just kicking the ball out. That's what set him off. So you can see it. His post-match pressers, sometimes they stink, but no more do you hear any rumblings from the change room. You can see the mentality of the players are changing. Okay, we didn't have our lineup was a dog's breakfast. We all understand that. But as a unit, now we have to look at this team as a unit. They played a great game yesterday. They played an effective game yesterday.
Yeah. And there have been matches too. And this is why I said the reason.
And that's all Allegri. That's all Allegri instilling that mental confidence.
You have to establish that as a standard, as a bare minimum. How many games did we see earlier on where the fight wasn't even there? Literally the fight. Literally that level of determination could have just been the difference in getting you across that finish line. And we didn't even see that. So now to at least get that should always at Juventus be the bare minimum. And that's why I think it's critical and important to establish that no matter what. John Stewart's got an interesting point here too, just saying Max knows it's probably more about mentality right now than it is tactics. It's frustrating, but true. Maybe it explains his rigidity in not changing tactically more throughout the season. And that's a very, very interesting point. And great stuff from the live chat. And I 100% agree with Luca. The live chat is the best. It is
the bleachers,
probably the best in the game right here at the AJC Army. Okay. The next line. This is the one I even saw CJ Yardo come up with it earlier that kind of got him fired up. And it was right here. So Max comment, playing for a draw pissed him right off. So here we go. So Max's words were basically essentially, we came in. I don't know it exactly. And
you can't.
Just a translation thing, but essentially
context.
We came here looking for a draw, which was an important result. Can be taken different ways. Let's get your guys' thoughts, and then I'll kind of touch on it. Let's start with Anth on this one.
Yeah, so this one initially set me off too, because you don't normally hear that from a manager. You can see it in the way they tactically set up. You can be like, oh, he's playing for a draw today. But they never say it. But I gotta watch the interview again. It's all about context, right? Like, he's not saying I came in here to play for a draw. It's, he lost in his other interview with DAZN. He was saying we played 3 great games against Inter, Villarreal, Atalanta, and we lost all 3. So he wasn't saying I came here to play for a draw, but sometimes a draw is, it's all about context. A draw is what the result is going to be, like the way you approach it. Like I think I kind of blew up over this one, but listening to the presser, I think we're making a lot about nothing here.
Omer.
Yeah, and summed it up brilliantly, actually. It's exactly what I had to say. Don't put too much into those words. There, after a game, he was screaming and shouting, and a moment after, someone shoved the mic in his face and asked him hard questions, and he just answers out of the top of his head. He still have to talk to the team and everything, and then people overanalyze it. Sometimes the translation gets lost, and it's not exactly what he meant. Pressers mean nothing, and I haven't seen one manager who has good pressers. Like Zidane had the most boring pressers ever.
Mourinho has good ones.
And where is he, and what happened with him in the past decade?
Right.
And I rather Allegri says stupid stuff than throwing his player under the bus, which is also goes to the mentality issue. If you throw your players under the bus, you lose the mentality. So he takes it all on himself, and he says some stuff, and then everyone overanalyzes what he said. So I don't put too much into it, and some of it is humor. The humor is not always well received because of the status of Juve at the moment. If you were in first place and you would have used the same joke, they would have been perceived differently. So it kind of lingers on everyone. It doesn't mean that that's what he said in the locker room to the team afterwards. But to be realistic and, counting everyone's predictions, a draw would have been not a shock to anyone. Anyone. So did he lie? Did he just say what he thought and what we all thought, basically? We were hoping for a win, so did he. But the reality is that coming out from Sassuolo with a draw is not all that bad.
With that lineup. Like it's
with that lineup. If everyone's available, that's a different story. Imagine we had to play Liverpool in tomorrow with that same lineup if we made it through to the Champions League.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's much like Omer just hit. I mean, if we're all thinking it, how does it surprise us so much when he comes out and says it? I mean, we were all literally thinking the same thing, but I do think it's kind of lost in translation there. I think it was more speaking to the fact that you don't want to let that thing drop to minimum a draw based on the results prior. So it's like, but it comes off as, we're playing for a draw. I think they're literally playing essentially not to lose. If that's, and I don't think it's a sign in terms of how they wanted to approach that match or anything, or I think it was just literally like they can't come out of there with anything below a tie. Like they just simply can't lose.
Had to be a draw
on everything that happened. It'd be a little bit ignorant to not factor in the insane amount of injuries. So it kind of is what it is, and it was a big game for us. Getting the 3 is important, but to be honest, here's where I'm at. I think his pressers are the worst, and I've stopped listening to him for a long time. But this is all about all of you in the community, and you guys want to talk about these things, we'll bring it up all the time. But honestly, Max's pressers are brutal. They're
Arthur's
brutal.
dead.
And they're
He
even
actually said
worse
Arthur's
when they're
dead.
translated.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I've stopped on that front.
Sarri's were worst. I hated Sarri's pressers because he was part of breaking down the Juve mentality, because he kept throwing players under the bus and everyone's at fault but him. Same goes for Mourinho. So I will give credit to Max. He knows what to say to the team. He doesn't know what to say to the press, but he does know what to say to
the second you say these players are untrainable, what do you think you have in that locker room? Like, it just, Sarri was an absolute tool. I'm done on that front.
Hang on, who smoked more cigarettes, Sarri or Omer?
Omer. Sarri, absolutely. No, Sarri, absolutely.
Do you think they let him smoke in the training facility? He didn't smoke in the training facility. There's no way.
I remember they said that back in the Napoli days, he used to sit in a room for 8 hours, watch games of teams he's going to play against, and just roll the cigarettes one after another, lighting them from one end to the new one.
That's dedication.
So I'm not at that level, not yet, but I'm getting there.
Oh. Guys, Striped Hearts Apparel, okay, sponsor, man of the match, okay. Check out the new throwback crew necks and the lippy stuff. It's gold. Thanks to everybody who already has shown love and support to them. Guys, man of the match, Anthony.
Not even close for me. Again, 2 games in a row, I'm going with the goalkeeper. For me, it was Tech. He kept us in it. Defense, and I'll go again. Defensively, as a unit, the back 4, back 7 blocked a lot of shots. I think we had 9 block shots. But Tech stood on his head yesterday. When he needed, Tech stood on his head. He's clear.
Omer?
Yeah, mainly it's Tech. He kept us in the game. I will give a few shout outs to Deschilio and even Rabiot. They both had good games where they gave it all. It didn't work out all that well, but Rabiot did get an assist. I'll give man of the match to Chiellini. The second he stepped on, he didn't put a foot wrong. It looked like the team gained some backwind to push them forward, and it was so much needed. That Rugani didn't get it.
I'm going to go Tech. Tech, hands down, man of the match. Some outside. I want to show a little bit of love to Morata for the work rate, man, and the grunt work and stuff up top. He did a lot of fighting and battling up there, and his finishing. He could have put that thing away, but he worked and worked and worked and worked. So
I also give a shout out to Zakaria.
Yeah, what's that?
Zakaria and Rabiot put in a shift yesterday. They ran back and forth all game long. I'll give Zakaria a shout out too.
Zakaria is a workhorse. I'm looking forward to him being a constant in that lineup.
And Deschilio coming off an absolute nightmare in the last game. Max having confidence to put him back in again. That's almost like, like in hockey or something. You have like a goalie, you don't pull the goalie. Somebody who has a nightmare. You stay with your players, and he's stuck with Lord Deschilio. And yeah, you're right, Omer. He had complete 180 from his last game. So good for him.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We got the man of the match out of the way. We had some questions. Okay, I had a couple questions, and then of course we've got some in here we are going to address as well. But the first one was, who had the worst predictions from yesterday, and why was it Raph?
That was my question.
Yeah, I know. I think these ones were actually yours, but I have one from a follower who DM'd me privately and whatnot, and I want to bring it up because it's very, very interesting. But Raph was just. I kept the receipts too. We posted that little video about Raph's little 3-0 sass. Come on. Always great having you on the show, Raph. Okay, we love you.
You're supposed to be on today. Technical difficulties is absolutely plaguing AJC this week.
Oh, yeah. So
But if Allegri exceeded your expectations, then you should give him a shout out, Raph. So you didn't expect anything. He did win. Give him some credit.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an interesting question. And I saw somebody Jeremiah chose Dybala for his man of the match. Dybala got a lot of flack and people claiming he's checked out yesterday. I got an interesting comment and question from a follower and a subscriber that reached out and was just saying, good work on last podcast. Enjoyed the conversation. Has a question for us and the panel, as it seems there are many views on Dybala as he closes out his time with Juve. Dybala or Mandzukic? Dybala or Tevez? So for him, it's Tevez and Mandzukic every day of the week. He starts talking. He says Dybala in his prime was and is tremendous from a technical standpoint. But he says when Anthony, and it's great that you're on here, Anthony, because he says when Anthony says via the chat, Dybala is still our best player, I would love to hear his explanation, because Dybala, when on the ball, is better than every player on our team. His ability to control, create, pass with accuracy, and switch the ball with precision is elite. But football is more than with the ball. Off the ball, he brings little to nothing, and this is where some of the diehards miss out, in my opinion. Cannot press, doesn't make runs, not good in the air, can't defend, lacks true speed. I feel that has to be mentioned when we speak of his brilliance as times. And then he just concludes with, I respect various opinions and enjoy what you guys put together and keep up the great work. So really, really interesting stuff. And I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on that, because if you had to pick Dybala or Mandzukic, Dybala or Tevez, number one, which of those guys do you pick and why? And the relation to best player on our team and everything like that. So let's start with Ant, because you were kind of addressed in that as well.
Yeah, different teams, right? It's you also have to look at the team that's surrounding those players. Like, I won't take anything. Like, I don't have Tevez on the wall, but I got Mandzukic up there. So Mandzukic, and I got Dybala is just right over there in the corner. Dybala technically is our best player. Like I said, I don't even think it's close. Finishing, like, he's dragged us out of positions. He was MVP of the league 2 years ago. Like, he is one of the top talents in the Serie A. Has he checked out? I would. Like, any human being, when you know that the end is near, there is some mental jockeying that's going on with him. So was he checked out a little bit yesterday? Maybe. Me and Luca in our group chat, and even on the main timeline on Twitter, I didn't think Dybala had that bad of a game. Did he put some passes astray? Sure, but who didn't? There was a bunch of us did yesterday. I don't think it's fair to compare Dybala to Tevez to Mandzukic. I just think all those teams, they're all part of sort of different teams, different players. Like, Mandzukic is a true number 9. Tevez is, he's a true striker. Dybala sort of comes back into the midfield a lot more to collect. He's more of a creator than Tevez was, and Mandzukic and Tevez were just pure goal scorers.
But I think if you change it to right now, you have to pick one out of those three. Who do you pick and why for this team?
For this team, I'm picking Tevez, like, hands down. Like, I'll take Tevez, but I don't think it's fair to discredit or put down what Dybala was to this team, what he is to this team currently, and he's moving on. I just, maybe yesterday he had a bit of an off game, but I don't think he was as poor as everybody says he was yesterday. But it's end of an era. But I'm happy for him. He can go play wherever he wants, and I wish him the best.
Yeah, Omer, how would you answer the question from our?
Look,
it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't like these comparisons because, once again, it goes down to personal preferences and which player did you like. Tevez and Mandzukic came in on already title-winning teams, miles ahead of the rest of the league. And, Tevez had Pirlo, Vidal, Marquisio around him. It's throw Dybala in that mix and let's see how he does. And my personal preference would be Tevez. I liked him since his West Ham days. I was a huge fan of him, and I was psyched that he made it all the way to Juve because they knew he would be great for Juve because that's what he is. He's just a fantastic player. Everywhere he went, he was great. Mandzukic is a different type of player that we absolutely needed and we're absolutely missing today. But Dybala had to go through something these guys didn't, which was a tough period, a tough phase. Maybe the beginning of his first season, but it all worked out. So I can't really judge them. Like I posted something about McKennie and how he's missed his movement, he runs into the area. And someone told me respectively that he will never be Vidal. He's a poor man's Vidal. And I was like, yeah, and Vidal is a poor man's Zidane. You can't compare these types of scenarios. Vidal had a phenomenal midfield with him. And now Dybala doesn't have a phenomenal attack with him. When he did have it, he was scoring goals left and right everywhere. So I don't really like those comparisons. I do agree that Dybala has his faults. He does look like he checked out. I'm not all that sure he checked out yet. Maybe they just wanted to quiet everything around him down and they'll discuss it again. Maybe it's a possibility. Yeah. But there are annoying things about the way he plays. And at the end of the day, he's a striker. If he doesn't score or assist, then he probably had a bad game and you don't hold defenders accountable to what you hold strikers accountable. I expect Danilo and Rabiot to track back because they play as midfielders. Same way I expect Dybala to assist or score in every game. That's my expectation from a striker. If he didn't score, then everyone will say he's awful. If he did score one goal, which is his job basically, everyone will say we shouldn't sell him and he's our best player and blah, blah, blah. I love Dybala. He was phenomenal for us. But like every player, he has some traits that I don't like. And it seems that age has gotten a bit to him. He doesn't seem as quick and as fast as he used to be. But he does provide numbers even this season. So it's great to have him still. What can I say?
Yeah. So real quick, Luca, don't be so sensitive. Nobody's dumping on Paulo. We're having a general discussion here. Okay, go get a Snickers. Come on.
That's the problem. Save their asses. That's his job. He needs to score goals. That's what we pay him for. He didn't save our asses. He did his job.
I'm going to say this. In terms of the question, I saw it as a comparison in a question of mentality. Okay. And I think that's kind of the one thing that's always followed Dybala because nobody's ever questioned his ability, his actual ability on the pitch. But it's always been something a little bit more and a little bit of that character thing and whatnot. So when we go around the panel and not one of us out of the three picks Dybala, and we all can admit that, man, I've been saying for a while, we need an asshole on this team. We need a guy like Mandzukic that can just be in the other team's ear, be on their minds, always have them looking over their shoulder and take so much attention. Like, you need a guy like that. Tevez is a cut above mentally too. I understand. I completely agree with Omer in terms of the team he had around him and the midfield he had around him. That's all performance-based stuff, right? But in terms of mentality and character, I do think Dybala would be third out of those list of players in terms
But he wasn't as much he's not like Mandzukic was a big personality, right?
And it's not a knock. It's not really necessarily a knock. It
wasn't his thing. Like, it's not really
his. It's just in terms of the guys we look for all the time at Juve and the guys that we grow to really truly admire, that embody that. It's easier to see out of guys with that kind of cut. They're from that breed, like hard-nosed. Do you know what I mean? Dybala is not a hard-nosed guy. It's not to say that he doesn't have his place and we don't need guys like Dybala. It's we're easily more attracted to the ones with that hard-nosed mentality and whatnot. It's easier to it's easier for the fans to adore these guys because you see that all the time. Whereas a guy like Dybala might not come through, and you might get these opinions that he's floating around on the pitch. He's not giving it his all. You know what I mean? It's kind of that you see. But it's not to say they don't have their place. I think naturally as fans, especially of Juventus, because we were accustomed to, we naturally gravitate to those hard-nosed guys.
So here's one that I might get buried for this one, but I'm just going to bring it. You look at it's completely different player set. You look at Pellegrini and Sandro, both sort of effective as left backs, not so much going forward, but as left backs, you notice Pellegrini more because he's always in the strikers' faces. He's always drawing fouls, taking fouls. But Sandro's a little bit quieter. You know what I mean? Like, and Juventus fans, I think Sandro hasn't been playing well very much, but I think we're drawn to players like Pellegrini, to Mandzukic, to Chiellini, to Bonucci, guys who, you can see on their faces exactly what emotion they're feeling during the game, and I think that's something that's slowly starting to come back a little bit.
The truth is, you need a balance of all these personalities on a team to make it work. That's the truth.
Yeah. I want to say that Dybala is talented. No one can deny that. But it's a different case because both Tevez and Mandzukic were already Champions League winners and Cup winners and Scudetto winners in different leagues, and we got sort of the finished product. Same with Higuain, for example. We got him at an advanced stage, where Dybala came in as a youngster, and the job of shaping his personality was on us, on Juve. Now, I've said it about Danilo, in regards to what Al is saying. I've said it about Danilo. There are just certain traits that different fan bases appreciate more. We love that in-your-face, that grinta, that never-die attitude. Dybala doesn't have it. So does Messi. He's not a good leader, and he's not an in-your-throat type of player. Is he a bad player because of it? No, he has other stuff to offer to the team, and I'm fine with it. You can't have everyone exactly the same character playing exactly the same way. You need balance, and Dybala is just not a leader mentally, but he is a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal football player, and he's a pleasure to watch when he's on his day.
I want to say that was a great question. I appreciate the direct message too from the follower and the subscriber. I honestly, if any of you ever want to reach out, you follow us at AllJuveCast. All the panel, all our team members, their handles are in the description to this video too. Simply reach out to any of us if you ever have questions. We love this stuff. That was absolutely fantastic. So big thank you. And let's get to this kind of segues perfectly into what Jeremiah put earlier that we flagged, which was, does anybody on the panel have any interesting, vibes that Dybala might stay? Jeremiah's keeping his fingers crossed. So Anthony?
I am getting, I know everyone's saying he's done, but I don't think that door is completely closed. I think he's going to go out and see what's on the market. I don't think it's completely closed. I think it's damn near closed, but I wouldn't be shocked if they found some sort of agreement. I wouldn't be.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't feel like it's over just yet. There's some sort of feeling in the air that it's not all done and dusted. On the contrary, there are reports from the most credible guys that Inter are looking into him, and I don't think they're doing it just for fun to entertain Juve. But he might decide to stay. Don't know if I hope he does or not. That's a different discussion. But there is a strange feeling. Maybe they just said it between themselves behind closed doors. All this contract talk are distracting everyone around here, and the media is all around it. Let's just say it's done. Wait till the season ends, and then we'll resume talking about it. And no one needs to know about it.
I agree with that.
So,
I think the question more is, do you want him to stay?
I made a comment yesterday. It felt weird knowing what was kind of coming, most likely, and seeing him with the armband and whatnot. I thought it was a great sign of respect from the club if he was truly done and dusted at the end of this year, that they still, give him the captain's armband, let him finish out with this, and let's finish this season through. Hopefully we have the Coppa Italia, and, maybe he'll wear the armband in that match. I don't know, but I thought it was a great sign of respect given all the circumstances and stuff. Maybe, just maybe, maybe, just maybe, Paulo is doing us a little bit of work and is going to keep Inter under wraps until the very, very bitter end just to re-sign for a lower salary with Juventus and stick it to the Snakes. Who knows? Who knows? Either way, it is what it is. Let's wait and see what develops. I don't necessarily know if I'm getting feelings he's gonna stay, but I mean, there's 4 matches left. The Coppa Italia final. Let's just see. Let's really watch the attitude. Let's really watch what he brings and everything. And who knows? Maybe he'll be telling a story through his actions, and maybe we'll get a little bit more insight. Great question though. Storm the Barn, everybody. We're gonna wrap up with Storm the Barn. So now's your time. Get your questions in, and we're gonna get to a couple of them. Luca's got what's he got? Thoughts on medical staff, kitchen staff, janitor. Should we just fire everyone when we have 7 to 8 starters out? Yeah.
Well, what happened with Delict? You get he had a bad sandwich. He's out, and then Quadrado has the stomach thing with the tendon.
We talked about it yesterday on the Match Day Live. Training staff's got to be looked at. We got to figure something out. We're dropping like flies here. Crucial time.
It can be one person. In the end, everyone has to answer to someone. You saw the Amazon documentary. Everything gets brought up to the main general physician, and he makes the call. Maybe it's just one guy who needs to leave. Maybe it's a training method, but something needs to change. This is beyond ridiculous at that point.
Yeah,
crazy. It's wild.
Let's go with this one question, guys. Max said he is expecting to bring 2 to 3 players next season and will keep the same team. If that's true, which 3 positions do we need reinforcement the most? Let's start this one with Omer and what you feel positions need reinforcement the most.
First of all, I want to say that in January he said we'll get no one, and we moved 2 players out and brought 2 players in. So don't really listen to what he says, but 3 positions, obviously left back and midfield. I think everyone can agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe center back is a bit more needed than a striker at the moment. Considering Chiellini is leaving and everything, we don't know yet the full picture. But for me now, a CB of high caliber is needed.
Ant.
Fully agree. Morata has to be re-signed for under 20 million. I think that has to get done as he has a compliment to Vlahovic. Wingers, I agree with the center back, left back. I think it's actually 3 players. I think it's the center back, the left wing or a winger, and the left back. I still didn't see Rabiot leaving. I don't even see Sandro leaving. So I don't know what we're going to do there.
I would have to say, in terms of positions, need that midfielder that's got the attacking prowess. You have to add that to this team. Winger for sure, out and out winger. Center back, I think, with Bonucci still staying around, gives you a little bit more time. We're talking about Chiellini. I even see it in the comments. We need to replace Chiellini's character and whatnot. We had this discussion about a couple weeks ago. You don't just find characters like that. And Chiellini is very much kind of a product of what Juventus was for a while. We helped build that. Of course it's the man. But make no mistake about it. He was kind of a product of being around the Del Pieros, the Nedveds, the Buffons. He's a product of what we were. So to just expect us to go out there and find another Chiellini, it's not really gonna happen like that. So Bonucci's around for the season. You've got Gatti coming in. I think CB's in that mix too. Left back, I would have to say left back's in there too. It's hard to just pin down 3. Those are the spots, and it's clear, and everybody kind of knows it. So it'd be very, very interesting to see. I'm very, very curious to see our outgoings, because there's this long list of outgoings, and you hear these talks about, number one, Arthur. I've said I can only see a loan being done for Arthur, maybe involved in a swap deal, but I wouldn't bank on
Okay.
him going anywhere really.
Okay, so here's a question. Do you think Arthur has jumped Rabiot in the who needs to go first? And basically, what are your top players who need to leave? What's like the
I don't
top three in
think
your list?
Rabiot's jumped Arthur because Rabiot's salary is his killer. Because for what he brings, even at the best of times, it's not worth what he's making on the salary wage. So I don't think he's jumped Arthur, personally.
Like if it came down to either Rabiot or Arthur, someone needs to go, you go with Rabiot.
I'd go with Arthur. You gotta get that contract fixed though.
The other thing, here's one of the biggest things in this. What are we playing next season? Are we doing a 4-3-3? Are we doing a 4-2-3-1? Like, what are we playing? Because this makes a big difference to me, in my opinion, because Locatelli and Arthur can switch off. But if you're asking me if Rabiot needs to be a controller, if he's just going to be a Mezzala, honestly, if we look at this team right now, let's take yesterday as an example. If you want to play a 3-man mid, you know Locatelli's going to be somewhere in there. You have Zakaria and Rabiot. For me, if you're bringing in an attacking mid, which should be our highest priority, why on earth do I need to keep Rabiot around if I have McKennie, Zakaria, and these other guys as supporting mids as well? I don't. But a change-up as a player to Locatelli is very much needed. Obviously, we have Rovella, whatever, coming in and whatever. But let's remember, Rovella's also had some fitness issues this season too. So big question marks. For me, I don't know. I think Rabiot's still at the top of that list. But it's a discussion for sure. Can be a discussion. I could see why you guys would lean Arthur too. So good
Rabiot's
stuff.
available.
So
I think Max. I think Max may change his mind to say we need to keep him because he is available. Okay, he's not the best. You're right. He's not. He's going to be lower down the pecking order, but he's always fit, man. He is always available for 90 minutes at a time too.
Yeah,
that's hard to find. That's hard to do.
Saying what's up to Jose just joining us. Like the video. Everybody like the video. Okay.
Oh, we didn't talk about Miretti. 4 full minutes came in and changed the game. Few minutes after.
Wait a second. A youngster coming in and we didn't just automatically lose?
Yes.
Oh,
Weird.
Yeah, we didn't. The goal didn't even come from his side, so pump the brakes.
Hey, he almost created one actually, like quite early into his step on the pitch. What did I always say? Don't be scared. Just don't be scared of it. Don't be scared.
Okay. Magic number is 5. If we wrap that up this weekend, I will fully jump on Max if he doesn't play the youngsters for the last 3 games. Has to happen.
All right.
Have to be there.
Jeremiah, why is Allegri behaving badly this season? Fuming off before the final whistle is completely unacceptable.
We already talked about this. So he's
completely unacceptable.
He's only been animated, I'd say, probably the last couple months. Like we in our prediction show at the beginning of the year and halfway through the year, we had one of the things was jacket throws, and it was at 0 until last week. Like he hasn't been that animated, and he even said after the game he stormed off because he was upset that his players weren't possessing the ball at the end of the game, and they were just running around like chickens with their heads cut off. So that's what upset him.
Listen,
I always feel like he's been more upset when we win. He looks more upset when we win and more calm when we lose, especially in the pressers, because when we lose, he always gives credit to the team. They play hard, blah, blah, blah. And when we do win, he points out all the mistakes we made during a game. So that's like kind of how Max is, basically.
Yeah. I can't say it's unacceptable. The manager, like, he knows what he tells his players. He knows the expectations he sets. The players should know that too. If for some reason they're not executing something to his level, he has every single right to be fuming off or whatnot. To say it's completely unacceptable, I don't necessarily believe that, because if we go back to what we spoke about earlier on in this podcast, there has to be a standard set. There has to be that standard. And if it's not being matched or required, I don't care what the name is on the back of the jersey, players have to be held accountable. If it's at a point where he feels he needs to fume and he's fired up about it, all the power to him. Because if there's something that we're trying to establish and it isn't being met, then I'd rather have my coach act that manner than be passive and not let it be known that he's pissed off about something, to be honest. And that's just, everybody's different, because I've seen it on teams I've been a part of. I know Ant could speak to this too. You have some guys that don't react well to the hothead, fired up mentality, and you have others that love it and feed off of it. It could go either way. This is another question that is a preference. It's a preference of how you want your manager to kind of behave and how you think they should and whatnot. But honestly, I personally have no problems with it. You guys,
can we give him some credit? Like, I want to storm off, and I'm not even coaching the team. I'm just a fan. And when I see the team playing badly, you need to see me. I'm super angry. I'm not nice. So imagine being the manager, standing on the sidelines, and the amount of mental strength it takes to stay there and keep the guys on their heels. I get it that sometimes it can break you and you just need to storm off. And he knows what's coming after bad games, all the interviews, all the talks behind the scenes, the management on his head, everything. So if he snaps a bit here and there, and that's what he needs to do to keep his composure, then I'm fine with it. It's a scenario that none of us have been in, so I can't really judge him on his actions.
Yeah. Remember when there was that kind of issue with Agnelli and Nedved earlier on in the season, and Nedved would look. I was the first to stand behind Nedved and say, "Hey, he's a Bianconero." Like it's like watching a game when I see the clips of Nedved in the stands and whatnot. I would rather them look like that and act in that manner, because it shows they give a shit. So honestly, I have no problem with their emotions and their characters coming out. I have no problem with that.
It's part of football.
This is not a boardroom scenario. This is a football match. Okay, so it's fine to act in that match. It's totally fine. He did nothing stepping over the line or any boundaries and whatnot. So I have no problems with it. Let's get to the last storm in the barn, then we're going to finish off on some wrap-up stuff. If we don't reach an agreement for Morata, should Keane stay, or should we look to move him on as well? Move him on. Done.
Yeah. Don't get hung up on one goal for any player. Doesn't mean he's back. You need to do it consistently in order to gain our appreciation back. So still, same case. Go on.
Ant?
Same. Moving on.
Send him on. Now, what's interesting is, based on everything yesterday, we see a lot of people coming out of the woodworks now, all of a sudden, big fans of Moretti and Raspadori. All of a sudden, it's like, bring me Raspadori. Scores that goal, bring me Raspadori. I still say Raspadori is a bit of a gamble. Raspadori is obviously the one heavily linked with, if we can get out of the second year of Keane loan, Raspadori is the player they want to bring in. Raspadori is a good player. I just think and even watching him yesterday, he's not a lock in any true position. He's kind of this in between. And that's why I say it's kind of a gamble, because I look to an era beyond Dybala, and I want to get that discussion. I want it to go away. I want to keep it simple. I want people in lock positions and go from there. Do you guys want to touch on Raspadori if he potentially joins at any point? So, Ant?
He was invisible to me yesterday. He scored that one goal. Other than that, he's a great system player in what Sassuolo is running. Does that necessarily mean he's going to fit with Juventus? No. So, I think we have bigger holes to fill than getting Raspadori on our team.
Omer?
Yeah. Look, the Raspadori is an interesting player. He's a bit lost in the formation, like Al said. But all the fans know exactly who we need and who will fit the team, but it doesn't work that way. If Del Piero was a youngster today in Italy, half of the fan base will have millions of reasons why we shouldn't sign him, why he isn't good enough. At the end of the day, it's always sort of a gamble. fit the environment, fit the players around him, the manager who coaches him,
Mhm.
everything. So you can't be certain if he's good or bad for Juve. Only time will tell. I will point out that Fratesi was Sassuolo's best player yesterday, and he did exactly what we need a midfielder to do. So I'm glad Juve are after him. I don't know if he'll end up at Juve, but he did impress me more than Raspadori yesterday.
Yeah, I see it a bit of a gamble. Good player though, good player, but a little bit of a gamble. I want to finish off talking about this jump that Juventus made. You know, at one point we were 18th or whatever, and make this big run, and now we're a point off from third place and everything like that. And people are talking and discussing, and some are saying there's no way you can't be proud of this and whatnot. It's an interesting comment, and it's interesting to talk about. Obviously, it's great we did that, but it's expected. I mean, we're where we need to be. What did we go into the season thinking we were going to finish 18th, 17th, like
8th? No.
Come on. So again, it's this constant battle of trying to praise Max and everything like this, where they're just blinded to what this team needs to be in those positions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
People want to dismiss the salary cap and whatnot. You can't. It's a fact. Whether the players aren't worth what they're making, which we know is true of some, is irregardless. The fact of the matter is Juve has the resources to be in this league in the top 4, hands down. So to make this some type of accomplishment, to me, is falling short of the big picture. And I don't think it's necessarily right. It's great stuff because we absolutely have to be in there, but that's the point. We have to be in there. We have to be in there. Anything less would have been ridiculous, especially when you look around this league and you see where it's at, especially when you look at point totals and what it took last year to get in there and what it's going to take this year. It is what it is. We needed to be in there. Anything outside of 4th would have been absolutely laughable. So let's be honest here. Guys, your takes on this and making this this stand and whatnot.
Go ahead, Omer.
Just if we had everyone available for most of the season, then yeah, I'll accept the argument of we need to challenge for the Scudetto. But right now, even the players are saying that Juve are where they deserve to be and where they need to be. We do need to challenge for a minimum of Champions League spot. That's a minimum requirement for Juve in every season. There's no going around it. Everything beyond that is a failure, in my opinion. That's the luxury of being Juve. That's why we're fans of the club, because we want to challenge for all of those things no matter what. So it could have been better. Injuries kind of derailed us from our path, but we still managed to do it. So I am happy. I'm not over the moon, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this season was a tale of two halves, right? Like you started, we had all our expectations. Like I know Animesh put in here what my expectation was for this team by Valentine's Day, but that was with Ronaldo. And then basically in January 1st, we had to readjust our expectations. It was like, man, we got to get to at least a Champions League spot. And then January 31st, when we had Vlahovic and Zakaria come in, Al, you adjusted your expectations. You said maybe we could make a run for the Scudetto, and that wasn't out of the question. So like Omer said, so many injuries, weird season, but 100% 4th is a minimum, and we shouldn't be surprised that we're here. And we are, based on this season, we are a 4th, 3rd place team with this roster. That's just what we are.
Yeah. And it is, again, we've been talking about this a lot lately. I mean, these expectations, they are what they are. Omer talks about it. It's a luxury of being at Juventus. But I mean, yeah, if we're going to, just as much as you can praise it, well, yeah, you have to be proud of that going from 18th or whatever up to 4th and potentially 3rd. You could start the other way. And why did we have to start from 18th and 19th, So it's, again, tale of two halves, like Anthony said and whatnot. It is what it is, but make no mistake, don't forget who Juventus is and the expectations and whatnot, and what we live by, and what we stand for, basically. Like, let's not kid ourselves. You have to, all this talk recently about, ignoring the fact, like salary, all this salary stuff, like throw that out the window. You can't throw that out the window. You just simply can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing out of this match, biggest takeaway for me, is the growth, the next step of the growth. So if Max wants to say this was the foundation, that's great. We all agreed. You give him the Mercado, go into next season, and let's see that growth, because I need to see, that bare minimum, the fight, determination, the green tail, like we saw yesterday. I need to see it consistently, and I need to see it balanced through the roster. Okay. And then from there, I need to see you be able to switch his team through the gears. And I need to see our team reflect our best lineup when our best lineup is out there, because that hasn't been the case for most of it. And that's before January and even arguably after January. So when the best guys are out there, it needs to look like that. So there's work to be done. But yeah, we're wrapping up this season. I want that Coppa Italia. I want that Coppa Italia. Whether we're third, whether we're fourth, second, like, it doesn't change anything. Just got to be in the Champions League. Okay, we're close to sealing that up. Let's go. Been a great show. Always massive thank you, Anthony, Omer, joining in. You guys are great. Everybody in the live today was amazing.
Awesome.
You guys are incredible. And if you got some questions we didn't get to, just save them for next time. We'll be around. I got the news videos coming up going into the weekend. I've got an interesting watch along. We're going to change things up this weekend since the game is at 3:30 a.m. my time. I will give you a live watch along at 3:30 a.m. my time on Sunday. I'll be with you guys, and we're going to watch this one together. So make sure you tune in. We will probably do the match day live on the Saturday. Okay. The day before the match, we'll do a match day live. We might do it in the morning. We might do it at night. We'll keep you posted as it gets later in the week. Okay. But everybody, big thanks. Reminder, like the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Okay. This is the channel that bleeds black and white. Check out the sponsor, stripedheartsapparel.com, and subscribe, because you could be automatically entered to win the away Vlahovic jersey. Thanks again, everybody. Big win. Let's keep it rolling. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Ciao.